What would happen if there is no sun anymore? On a beautiful and sunny morning, as you were taking a walk, the sky suddenly turned pitch black. You looked up, only to find that the sun had disappeared. Hastily, you rushed back home. What was happening? Taiwanese media reported that the sun had unexpectedly extinguished its flames. So, what would happen to humanity without the sun? How long could we survive with our current technology? Paula Testa, an astrophysicist at the Smithsonian Astrophysical Observatory and Harvard University Observatory collaboration, stated, "The Sun is not even 5 billion years old. It is a middle-aged star, which means its lifespan will be around 10 billion years or longer. After the Sun burns most of the hydrogen in its core, it will transition into the next phase, becoming a red giant. Approximately 5 billion years from now, the Sun will cease to generate heat through nuclear fusion reactions, and its core will become unstable and contract," according to NASA. Meanwhile, the outer layer of the Sun, still containing hydrogen, would expand and emit a red glow as it cools down. This expansion would gradually engulf neighboring planets like Mercury and Venus, while also sweeping away the Earth's magnetic field and stripping away its atmosphere. In fact, there have been instances in history where natural disasters have temporarily obscured the Sun. One notable event occurred in 1816, known as the Year Without a Summer. On April 10, 1815, the Tambora volcano in Indonesia erupted, releasing approximately 41 cubic kilometers, approximately 10 billion tons, of volcanic ash into the atmosphere, along with various gases such as carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and hydrogen chloride. Ultimately, the volcanic eruption caused severe climate anomalies for several years, limiting the amount of heat from the sun and altering the summer climate in the northern hemisphere in 1816. In New England, significant snowfall occurred in June, and lakes remained frozen throughout the year in parts of Pennsylvania. In August, a hard freeze dominated New Hampshire and Maine. These temperature fluctuations adversely affected crops worldwide and ultimately led to famine in many areas. The famine led to outbreaks of disease and epidemics, killing millions of people. Mass migrations occurred as people tried to escape the food shortage. The Year Without a Summer also gave rise to religious revivals, as doomsday preachers believed that the world was ending and called upon people to turn to God. The surface of the Sun is scorching at temperatures up to 5,500 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt or vaporize any known substance, including diamonds or graphene. Fortunately, Earth is located at a distance of 150 million kilometers from the Sun, just cool enough to sustain life. Scientifically speaking, when stars die, they expand. It is likely that the Sun would expand into a red giant, vaporizing the inner planets of our solar system, including Earth. However, for the Sun to become a red giant, it would take another 7 to 8 billion years, so there's no need to worry too much. Nevertheless, to avoid being overly reliant on advanced human technology, let's imagine that the Sun suddenly disappears and see how humanity would cope without it. The Earth would rapidly cool down. Within about a week after the Sun disappears, the average surface temperature of the Earth would drop to 0 degrees Celsius. After a year without the Sun, the temperature would plummet to -101 degrees Celsius. Over time, the Earth would become an icy planet, with rivers, lakes, and oceans freezing on the surface, and liquid water only existing deep beneath this ice layer. Most plants would quickly die without the Sun, as the process of photosynthesis would immediately cease. Only robust and large plants might survive for a few more decades without photosynthesis. Plants play a crucial role in the food chain, so when plants die, herbivorous animals would rapidly decrease in number, and carnivorous animals would also be affected. Another issue if the Sun were to disappear is that it would disrupt the orbits of celestial bodies within the solar system. Without the gravitational pull of the Sun, everything, including planets, asteroids, and more, would continue moving forward in a straight line. This means that our Earth would travel towards distant stars at a speed of 107,826 km per hour. In theory, the Earth could be captured by the gravitational pull of another star and start orbiting around it. However, this process would take thousands of years. What would happen to humanity if the Sun disappeared? Within the first 24 hours, the media and the internet would be flooded with various theories about the end of the world, such as being abandoned by God or extraterrestrial beings destroying the sun. Everywhere will be severely affected by the cold, and the water vapor in our atmosphere will condense, causing snow to fall in most areas around the world. Many places will be impacted by snowstorms. Our atmosphere will begin to separate into layers of different densities. The denser layers will descend to the surface, while the thinner gases will rise, thus disrupting the availability of breathable air. If you are fortunate enough to live near the coast, the water will retain heat longer, and your area will be relatively warmer. Panic starts to spread, as people scramble to grab whatever items they can to sustain their lives, such as cold weather clothing, survival gear, fuel, and food. Solar power will cease to function. The danger from society escalates rapidly, with the elderly, sick, and children being the first to perish. Then, the majority of the population will succumb to hypothermia, hunger, oxygen deprivation, or violence. When society collapses and humans perish, electricity gradually disappears as well. No electricity means no TV, internet, and electric heating systems. As the population decreases, the level of violence also diminishes, and the surviving individuals are willing to support each other to coexist. Your only chance of survival is to quickly establish an environment with sufficient heat, and the best way to do so is by digging deep into the ground, as the geothermal temperature increases by about 25 degrees Celsius per kilometer of depth. Survival can only be sustained if everyone cooperates, ensuring sustainable food sources and a well-ventilated system. Additionally, you will need adequate artificial lighting to compensate for the absence of sunlight and to enhance your well-being. These are the possibilities that can unfold when there is no sun, and these are the preparations you need to make to cope with it, gradually, over the next 8 billion years.